MarketPros, we focus on executive search, and we also have a contract staffing division. We get the question a lot from candidates, what constitutes job hopping and how do you define that, right? And the reason we're getting the question, I think, more and more is we're seeing it more and more. And I'll give you a couple of examples as to what it is and how it impacts your career, right? So our executive search team does director through CMO level positions. And it's rare that we would do a senior manager or a manager, but we do have clients who are strong clients, people we've worked with for many years. And if they call us and say, I've got a manager level role, will you help us? The smart answer from our perspective is yes. So we've got a manager level position that we're working on for a client where we've also got a VP level role. And we've got someone who got their undergraduate degree from Stanford, finished their master's also from Stanford back in the late 90s. So they've been in the real world for 22, 23 years. And we're having this debate internally, do we present this person for a manager level role? And the reality is most of this person's peers are already well beyond that, right? So they're director, VP, EVP, CMO, whatever the case may be, but someone with those education credentials and 20 years of work experience is not typically at the manager level. And so now you gotta ask yourself, well, of course, why wouldn't you present that person? And we're actually debating it, we haven't decided, right? We're gonna have to make that decision one way or the other today. And the reason we're debating it is while the place that this individual's worked or the places that this individual has worked have been good quality companies, many of them, there's just far too many. And they've job hopped around, right? And so it's a year here, 18 months there, 3 years maybe is the longest stint this individual's ever had, and everything else is less. And so the question that you've got to ask yourself is, what value is that person adding at each place? And is this person going to stay at the new organization where they go? And the likelihood is, based on their track record, they're not, right? So what we're seeing here is an example of someone that's 20, 25 years out in the real world, top education, and moving around too much has significantly impacted their career in a negative way. Now flip that to the other side, right? I was having a separate conversation today with the person that is on our contract staffing division, one of the folks over there, and he came to me and said, we had a candidate that accepted a contract role and then called back and decided they weren't going to take that role, they got a full-time opportunity. I said, well, pull their resume, let's go through it, and let's understand a little bit more about the nuance of that so we can see what we can do from preventing this from happening in the future, right? And the reality is we can't guarantee that. At the end of the day, we have a product that thinks for itself, and so we can only do everything possible to minimize those risks for our clients. So this individual was a very junior level role, it's just an email marketing coordinator, and she had been in an email role on the agency side. We were putting her into an email role on the client side, and it would have been maybe contract to hire, but no guarantee of that. And it was a positive step for her in her career because she got to go to the client side, and that was ultimately what she told us her goal was. So she calls back and says, I've gotten a full-time opportunity, and it's in an operations role in the insurance business, which is obviously completely out of left field. And she said, I'm not really sure if I like email marketing, and there's other areas of marketing that I'm interested in, but I don't know how to get there. And I've never tried operations before. I don't know anything about it. So maybe I'll go try that for a little bit. And if that doesn't work out, maybe I'll go back to marketing or just try something completely different. Now, this person's first job out of college was completely not related to email marketing, and she was there less than a year. She's in an email marketing role in an ad agency for less than a year, and now she's going into a third job where she's going to a completely new industry, completely new role, and may or may not stay there a year based on what her plan is for her career. And what she couldn't understand, what she didn't understand or just didn't want to understand, was that these decisions that she's making when she's 23, 24, 25 years old are impacting her career for when she's 40, 45, 50, and 55 years old. And the hopping around is going to limit her ability to grow in the future. And so we're seeing it more and more with the millennial generation that this is happening. And we're also seeing it as the millennials get older, that the millennials who don't job hop, so many more opportunities are opening up for them. And the millennials who do, so much more limitations are being put on their career. And then as Gen Z is just entering the workforce and the people on our contract staffing division are talking to them about SEO or paid search or other roles, they have a much longer term view in general of their career, where their career needs to go and how to manage it, than millennials do in general. And I realize I'm generalizing because there are millennials who don't think that way and who have a long-term view. But all that to come full circle to where we started, which is how do we define job hopping, right? In general, you want to stay within every organization you go work for a minimum of 3 years, right? Now you may have a promotion in there, you may have other things where you're moving around internally in the organization, but from an organizational perspective, minimum 3 years for every opportunity you have. And everybody gets one mistake, right? So there's going to be a time in your career where you may have gotten laid off through no fault of your own, or you may have gotten into an opportunity and decide, you know what, I really just don't like the fit of the role, I don't like the culture of the organization, and I need to go, right? And everybody gets one free pass. But past that, you need to stay within each role, within each corporation for a minimum of 3 years. Otherwise, you're limiting your mobility for your career later on. And so one of the kind of questions that's interesting that I think our contract staffing team is talking to millennials about on a day-to-day basis is, you are not necessarily happy where you are today in your career. And so you're ready to jump for the next thing and try that and see if that's the right fit. And if that's not the right fit, I may jump and try this over here. But the reality is you're not progressing forward in your career and you're not showing that you're adding value to the organization you're working for. And so since you're not demonstrating value, then other organizations are not going to want to hire you and certainly not going to want to promote you throughout the process.